The following game contains explicit sexual content and is intended for adult audiences only. The game's story includes difficult subject matter not suited for all audiences. Content warnings are available in the main menu. Portions of the game include sudden sounds or flashing lights. The effects can be reduced in intensity in the settings menu. Use of audio is recommended. Let's do normal light and sounds. Hey, the game's doing all the warnings for me. Oh, that one's up front. That's a nice intro right there. Let's see here. Content warnings for once we... It's got this stuff if you want to see it. And we'll be checking this game out today. It just came out yesterday. I was going to cover it yesterday, but then I think its release date was like mid-afternoon, and I'm like, I'm not waiting around all day for that. I'll just check in tomorrow. They broke their backs lifting Moloch to heaven. Pavements, trees, radios, tons. Lifting the city to heaven, which exists and is everything about us. Howl, by Allen Ginsberg. So, welcome back to my weekly Let's Try series where I try a different furry visual novel every weekend, usually. Forgot to do my usual intro, really, because I was doing the content warning stuff at the beginning. Third shift bar... BOGO oh right, buy one get one shots on Thursday. I'm like, BOGO? They're doing BOGO shots, like the guy from Zootopia. The sun got turned off a couple hours ago. The corner stores and bars are still casting colored light out onto the rain-slick asphalt beneath my feet. I wonder if they're using colorful language or if the sun is literally an artificial thing that turns off, like, a light. It'd be very surreal to, instead of having like a sunset or a sunrise, just to have the sun just be like, yep, 7:30 p.m. And then you just transition to nighttime immediately. None of the few stragglers heading home would remember me if they glimpsed me. I avoid them anyway. I'm headed away from those lights and the people walking within them. I keep my head low as a bus leaves from the stop nearby. A lone passenger leans against the window near the back, ragged and exhausted. Soon enough, I'm down to just the streetlights. My feet hurt. The weight of my backpack rubs uncomfortably against my sodden clothes, and I haven't been able to shake this cold for the last few weeks. It's hard to clear my throat without bringing on a full coughing fit. I endure each discomfort unfeelingly. None of them matter. My memories of this place, by daylight, bear little resemblance to the looming shapes of the distant, boarded-up warehouses. At first, I strive to navigate the darkened streets. But my feet know the way better than I do. I find myself standing at the destination I scouted out earlier. Jonah and Sons. Not the most descriptive name. I'd guess it used to be a machining or repair shop, from what little I could glimpse through the window during the day. I glance up and down the street and notice a stray headlight in the distance. I pause, alert. It brightens, but then extinguishes as the truck turns away. Bars are too distant to hear now. Rainfall on the dilapidated roofs muffles the sounds of the city. I breathe in and let the moment fill me. If it weren't for the occasional distant traffic, I could imagine myself the last person alive. There's something empowering in that. Something freeing. Like I could step from the asphalt and fly. I'm finally, truly alone. That feeling. I draw it out. That's what I need. This is what it takes. This is what it takes to set things right. My thoughts cast back to the bus riders and the scattered late-night stragglers. I quietly wish them well, and I turn towards the nearest building. My weight on the chain-link fence stings my fingers. I climb slowly, carefully testing each foothold on the rain-slick metal. Near the top, I cling to the fence with my left hand, fishing in my pocket with my right. The barbed wire is thin, and even one-handed I'm able to awkwardly snip through it with a wire cutter. Once the barbed wire is cut, I carefully grab it with the wire cutter and peel it aside to make a large enough gap for me to cross over. Maybe it's pointless to care about cuts and scrapes, considering everything. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I don't want to be hurt. He's definitely on a mission. Definitely on a mission to the point where he's questioning whether or not the simple act of just avoiding harming his body is selfish, which is a wild state of mind to be in. The fence is low enough to jump down from, but the impact is heavier than expected, and I stumble. I steady myself, looking around. My heartbeat quickens as I begin my trespass. I don't know whether to sprint or try to look like I belong. I end up just walking quickly, making my way closer. I'm sure that I'm alone, but I can't help but hold my breath, as if the slightest sound will betray me. Fortunately, my memory ends up being good enough to find the entrance. I slip through an unlocked door, creeping into the abandoned gloom on the other side. My search is short. The faint streetlight glints off something metallic in the corner. I feel around, fumbling over the brickwork, and manage to find its unnatural shape. An abandoned exchange port, miraculously still alive despite its surroundings. I sling my backpack down against the wall and kneel. The wall port has no cord, but I wasn't expecting one. I take my own from my bag and plug it in. The metallic weight of the other end sits heavy in my palm. It's an ugly, crude, and purposeless thing, save for this. I exhale, bringing the other end of the cable up to plug into the machine port at the base of my skull. Oh yeah, so the sun probably turns off, is what I'm guessing, given that we have Ghost in the Shell ports on our heads. As soon as I seat it in the port, the lock automatically engages with a metallic click. I'm ready to begin my work. Yup, there it is. That CPU, I guess that's CPU load. There's a familiar, momentary vertigo as the connection begins to form. I pause at login, holding the process at bay and idling in standby. I can see why there might be like flashing lights and things now. Look at that beautiful background static driving up the bitrate of this video and massively inflating its file size as I record. It almost itches. The firmware embedded in my spine thrumming in readiness to bridge the gap and bear my consciousness outward. But first, there's one more law to be broken. Feels absurd and wrong for the last of my savings to have been spent on something so insubstantial. How much labor and hardship went into the purchase of that flicker of code that now waits hungrily to act? The last of your savings. Am I being selfish, not wanting to get hurt? I think this person intends to die on this mission. I don't think this is our protagonist. Unless they get thwarted. There's nothing for it. I realize I'm holding my breath as I initiate the second process. Letting it override my firmware. Yeah, that's not a good thing to do, probably. My heart beats as the silence stretches. I force myself to let the breath out. There's the slightest hint of rising animal panic. How long will it take? Is it even working at all? What if... Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's gonna blow up or something. A handshake checksum failed. Exchange protocol error. System memory corrupted. Illegal operation detected. Undefined error, and now the messages aren't even playing right. A flurry of warning messages project into my vision. I'm almost startled, even though I expected them. It worked then. Good. I dismissed them. From here, there'll be no turning back. It's time. The last item I removed from my backpack is a plain tarp. The sort of thing that nobody would glance twice at in an abandoned building like this. I throw it over myself, wrapping myself in it loosely. I lie down to nestle up to the wall about as comfortably as I can. It'll buy me time. The time is what I need. My breath is hot and humid in the plastic until I make a slight opening. I think I can hear my heartbeat, but it's probably just nerves. I close my eyes. I guess I won't need them anymore. I lay there for a moment, the rhythms of my body unnaturally loud. I wait for a feeling to come. Resolve, when it arrives, doesn't lift my spirits. Resolve is a dull and heavy thing, but it's mine to hold. That feels evocative of the hope, like hope is the bird that, but in the opposite direction. Hope versus resolve. Is that Emily Dickens? It holds me in turn, canvas arms enfolding me, and ushers me gently downwards. One option, descend. The connection opens. My breath catches. I wish... Uh-huh. Under Heaven, Part 1. The Underworld. The part that's under heaven, right? Or the one that's under heaven. 2 years later. That definitely seemed fatal. I'm wondering if it's gonna be like... if it did something that'll pop up in the news? Or if that person was just dying, and that's it. Like their goal was just to die, and they found a thing that would help them die, and that was it. Our little sidebar on the left was blue, and now it's green. So I think that further signifies we're a different person. I have never held a dandelion in my hands. I know about them. Records exist. I've seen pictures from the surface. I could describe their structure and color conversationally. Once, on a whim, I dove deeper into the archives, unfurled the taxonomic tree of life to try to understand them down to the tissue, the cell, the molecule. But I've never held a dandelion in my hands. There exists an essence, an experience forever beyond my reach. Then again, maybe the truth of a dandelion is just as far from the limited reach of the senses as I am from holding a dandelion. Maybe there's something deeper and truer here that escaped the people who lived on the surface, just as surely as it now escapes me. Maybe I flatter myself to imagine I could ever grasp it, that I could form some true connection with it, could know it through the heritage between it and the thought form that I've conjured and given substance in my hand. It, like everything else in the simulation, is not real, but it is mine. My thumb strokes over the yellow head, feeling its softness as it bends. At my touch, the blossom progresses to seed. It's strange to imagine weeding out such a beautiful flower, but that experience too is lost. I held on to that feeling, the loss of a thing never experienced. My focus tightens. There's another feeling, a notion of receding and distant wonder as ephemeral as the dandelion's soft seeds. The seeds themselves. What if they're the way to express it? What if they retained that flower's brightness, caught and held that golden sunlight as they floated on the breeze? My thumb brushes the head once more, the pallid gray brightening. I think I like it. It's a start, at least. Changing the seed to also be golden. I exhale, for its own sake, as breath is unnecessary in this place, and let the seeds blow from the stem and drift. My attention leaves my body and drifts with them. Yellow loses itself in the glowing sunlight, gold drifting in gold. Several hundred feet away, a seed alights on an unexpected arrival. A stranger. I can't feel too much from him. Curiosity and maybe just the slightest sliver of wonder. I wasn't planning on entertaining, but I let go of myself, my avatar disappearing as I flow into the world. It comes easily to me these days. I become the forest for my visitor. A breath of wind stirs my leaves as the visitor, a goat, handsome in a light and lean handsome in a light and lean sort of way, treads uncertainly into a glade. He's drawn in by the spectacle of me. Good, but I won't hold his interest forever. My scene is missing direction. I draw a line of motion just behind him, beating wings and a spray of impossible feathers. I keep the detail low. It isn't meant to be perceived directly, and it won't be. It works. He whirls around, catches just enough. It impels him forward, and I offer the sort of running water. I'm starting to flub, apparently. It impels him downward, and I offer the sound of running water ahead of keeping him moving. I curve a river attractively across the earth and draw down a luminous sunbeam through the canopy, catching its shape in the spray. Where the river bends, where my guest can just glimpse the bird as it vanishes beyond his sight and into nothingness, I finish the tableau with a figure. A seated red fox faces away from the goat, nude, and letting his legs dangle listlessly above the river's edge. These are beautiful paintings. The art team on this thing's insane. Like, I know, off the top of my head, I know that Bork Thunder's on it. I think might have done the intro screen. And I think this might be Civet Strange, who did those insane paintings throughout Echo. I've been, like, kind of obsessed with their painting style. There's all the stuff in Echo, obviously, which looks great, but I really love that Civet Strange, this one painting of, like, a rock or a punk concert that looks like it's in a small venue. And it looks like it specifically looks like it was, it's an image generated by flash photography, even though it's obviously painted. So it has really harsh contrasts of the stuff caught in the flash versus the dark background. And you have like a Wolverine, I think, is singing, and it's like, it looks harsh and everything, and it's like shockingly well done. But this thing has I think there's like 10 people working on this game or something like that. That's insane. When the goat breaks the tree line, the fox, as my new avatar, looks back over his shoulder. The smile is hard to perfect. Something subtly melancholy, something elusive. And then I push off the stone and vanish into the water. I don't bother maintaining my fox self once I'm beyond my guest's field of view, once more dissolving to nothingness as easily as I did mere moments ago. The visitor stands there, staring at the distant bank. It's a strong enough image to end on, I think. I don't have enough time for an extended session, and I nudge the path out under his feet so that he'll find his own way to the exit. I feel sorry for rushing him. I'll give him a minute, but I really do need to get going. Playing the hits, are we? Ah. I can feel the speaker's presence back in the clearing. Interesting. The person talking and the narration both have a green outline, which I thought would indicate who's speaking or who's thinking, but it's the same color, even though it sounds like someone's talking to us. For a moment, I thought that we were an AI and that we literally only exist in the simulation because we have visitors and we don't maintain our presence after going in the water. In particular, there's how disorienting it is to have the fox appear in third person, but they're our avatar, but not like our first person avatar like in VR chat or whatever, or like your chosen appearance in the holodeck of Star Trek, but we were viewing them from afar also. So if we're not an AI, I guess we're probably like just the people who run this exhibit or attraction. Like, this is a form of entertainment, and we're the We're their host of the guests. That's a paying customer, probably. I can feel the speaker's presence back in the clearing, past the detailed parts of my forest self that my guest and I are focused on. Far enough, too, to appear to my new visitor without alerting the goat that picks his way along the gently guiding path. I always hate talking without an actual body. It's only Lark who's dropped in, so I don't bother coming up with anything novel. I draw myself down to the shape of my own body, my own limbs, my own antlers, and re-emerge in the glade I'd left behind. Why are you naked? You started it with the fox. Am I not following your artistic vision? You know, heartbreaking, Edenic beauty, a certain naturalistic and innocent sexual overtone, that sort of thing. I'm sure your guest would have been into it, and you, if you'd given him the chance. I definitely feel like I recognize this art, but it's neither of the people I mentioned, I think. Oh, so you're mocking me. Yes, but I wouldn't bother if I didn't think you were onto something. I sigh, rubbing my forehead. I know, it's shit. It isn't shit, but it isn't done. You're right, it's not. I keep going back and forth. I start with the research, tweak things, try to sharpen it, and capture a feeling more than a place, but every time, I just end up feeling self-conscious and stupid about the whole thing. It's too indulgent. It's practically emotional pornography. And then I dial it back until I end up back where I started. Wow. Look who's suddenly too good for pornography, says the nude character in a furry visual novel. You're right that you're being self-conscious. That's your problem. You're too self-conscious that you're afraid of any real glimpse of you being present in the work. You're trying to disappear. And, without you, the work says nothing. So, dialing it back is a mistake. If anything, you should commit fully to the changes from bare reality. Create what you actually want it to be, instead of what it is. You're the one that was just making fun of my artistic vision. Because you haven't committed to one yet. You're trying to capture a feeling. Well, what feeling? What are you doing here? What do you actually want? Oh, yeah, that's the same person speaking. Okay. I leave the question hanging in the air. The distant susurration of insects, unheard in living memory, covers by silence. The reconstructed memory of sunlight, which I have never felt, warms my fur. Never felt sunlight. That might not indicate that it never left this place, because they said the sun turns off, which indicates that the sun just isn't around. So no one's felt sunlight if that's the case. I do enjoy introducing a setting by just not explaining it, and just having the observations and thoughts of the characters color it as you go. It's way more entertaining than having this is the difference between narration and exposition on some level. Is like you're filling things in from by instead of providing all the context up front, you're just having the experience of the characters and their perspective inform everything, instead of being like, so this is under heaven. This is the place where blah 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 blah, and there's a legend of blah blah blah, but long ago the blah blah blah. Yeah, we don't have sun anymore, and then like. And the number of, and there's a few too many visual novels that will just open with a very lengthy explanation of their setting that's like akin to like the monologue at the beginning of Zelda games. And you're like, no, stop. I get a system message indicating that our unnamed guest has left my instance. Unnamed? So you didn't know who they were or that they were coming, I guess. I don't know. You will. If you're willing to put in the work. Can't just snap your fingers and stun the world with your virtuosity that easily, huh? Yeah, well, Whatever, I need to get to work. Catch you later. See you around. With only a thought, the instance is closed and I begin disconnecting from the exchange. There's always that moment of vertigo. Not even darkness, but nothingness. The space between avatars and bodies. Between perception and reality. Sometimes it's oppressive. Sometimes it's almost cozy. Sometimes I wonder that something went wrong and wonder whether I might drift unfeeling into that void until the end of time. Today I pay it no mind as I mull over Lark's words. Oh, that's beautiful. I have basically never drawn a background. Lighting looks wild. Okay. And then I'm lying in my room, conscious of the cable at the base of my head disengaging its locks for manual injection. Yeah, given that we can literally plug into things, that should have informed most of it at that point. I roll my shoulders and work out the stiffness from lying still for too long. Even though I wasn't using them, the Gen 2 ports running down my spine always get uncomfortable when I'm on my back for too long. Getting up will probably be sore. Yep. I wince as I turn to sit on my bed, hunching forwards a bit to stretch my back out. I reach up and unplug the exchange cable before rising to my feet. My uniform's draped over some hangers. Work didn't pay for it, but at least it's pretty simple. Just a plain, utilitarian jumpsuit with holes along the back to fit my Gen 2 ports. And, of course, my badge in the card holder in the front. So I'm currently wondering if they are, androids or cyborgs? Like, do they have... I think they've always said ports, not implants, right? So that doesn't specify necessarily. Because if they have an artificial body, then you can just upgrade things and it's blah, blah, blah. If they're implants, that's a much more invasive, upsetting thing, because it's things being added to a living flesh body, and you have to worry about rejection and, like, worry about risks and damage every time you replace things. It's much more worrying to think about there being, like, generations of ports, generations of technology, if it's going into a living body, and potentially, and, like, do you upgrade it, or are you stuck with it forever? Is it going to be like Caden from Mass Effect, where it's like, yep, stuck with the old version of the biotic implants, that's just my life forever. All their side effects and downsides, that's just where I am. Clean Right Sanitation and Janitorial Services. Julian Halford, Drone Operations Technician. So, drone operator at the sanitation department. That sounds slightly higher end of being in the janitorial company. This is hitting too hard as furry art. Somebody making extremely high effort art while living in just like the most just having to deal with like the very like blue collar like and like often just a pain in the ass type of job, and then going back to their art and that being like their like binary in life that they're going back and forth between. That's the conditions a lot of people make these games under. People like get a little too into the idea sometimes that people make a lot of money making these, and they do not. Basically, no one makes almost nobody makes a profit on these. Like maybe 80 or 90% of free visual novels probably never make back their money that they put into the art in the first place. So it's all passion. Not the most glamorous work, but being able to control enough drones to replace a whole set of janitors pays enough to get by. Lark's words are still rolling around in my head as I pull the uniform on. They're right. Or at least gesturing towards something right, and it irks me. What am I really doing with that instance anyway? I don't know. Maybe I should just double down on it being indulgent and pleasant and all that. But it feels like a waste. The ability to shape reality within the exchange. God knows how many hours of research on the world outside, and the best I can do is kinda fuck around with the lighting and colors? Come on. Anyway, it's not the kind of problem I'm going to solve in the next 5 minutes. I exit my room, glancing down the hall to Lark's door. Closed, of course, and I imagine they'll be getting up to more interesting things than I will at work. Oh well. I take the stairs down to the first floor and head towards the kitchen. I bet you're wondering how I ended up in this. Oh, that's not even me. We have a Puma housemate, Alex, in addition to Lark. I ended up running into Alex grabbing some leftovers from the fridge. Oh, hey. You about to head out? Yeah, just grabbing some coffee first. Afternoon shift today? Yep. The oven clock reads a little after noon. I should be good on time. I scoop some grounds into the basket and start the coffee maker before noticing the odd silence, and I glance over at Alex again. Hang on a minute. Sorry, I'm realizing new background and I should look at all this a little bit more. Why do I recognize this artist? I feel like I'm probably following them. But anyway, in the background, we have an analog clock. It's apparently noon 10, unless it doesn't work or their time is weird. I count 12 hours. We have themed art. There's like a two-piece set on the left. There's something on a roof that looks like Dr. Octopus or something like that. And the one in the very back, which caught my attention, it looks like a Warrior Cats thing, basically. Like a theme, oh, it's a signed poster, isn't it? It looks like it's a signed movie poster or signed book cover print, maybe. But the top right corner has some scrawling that looks like it's out of place on the poster, so it was probably signed by the... Damn, this music's picking up. This is an exceptionally nice house. Let's see. I'm trying to remember... I think Lark wasn't a Puma, but something else. They look similar-ish, but not... I think they weren't the same species. Let's see. He's leaning against the counter with arms crossed and brow furrowed, staring at the floor like he's considering something. Something up? Oh, just... Are you doing a short shift today? We're having folks over tonight, remember? Yeah, I tried to get today off, but you know how it is. Clean Right doesn't let us trade shifts, not unless someone's sick. On the bright side, it's only 8 hours, a short shift. I wouldn't exactly be on time, but things were probably going late, right? So we're clearly doing a cyberpunk. We're clearly doing a cyberpunk in every way. But the ports, the sun being fake, but above all, the most important part of cyberpunk is the capitalist exploitation of workers. If you don't have that, you literally aren't doing it. You're just being like, what if the people were cyborgs? And that was it. Oh, yeah, for sure. I was just hoping you could help with, well, you know. Sorry, I don't know. What's up? Well, I don't know, man. You think Amir is going to be good for tonight? Ah, right. I guess it's hard to say for sure, but he did seem to open to it. Maybe he just wants to take his mind off things. Not hard to imagine why he would. For sure, and I mean, me too, obviously. Just worrying if he's going to be a problem. People are going to be showing up to have fun. I wonder if Amir's an alcoholic, or if there's somebody that is just spiraling right now because of something that just happened. So I think they're going to, maybe drink a lot and make a scene and wallow in their mess and kind of become a thing there. Not really sure what to do if he ends up not being able to handle it. I think about it with a low hum, pouring the coffee into my thermos. Add a bit of sugar, no cream, and grab a protein bar from the pantry. I don't know. I worry about him too, but if he said he's up for it, I think he just We just have to trust him. I know. Well, anyway, I'm probably getting worked up over nothing. Guess I'll see you when I see you. Yeah, I should get going. Catch you later. Later. Thermos in hand, I head for the front door. These fucking backgrounds. Calm down. I mean, I guess if we're going to be around home a lot, these backgrounds will get used, so it's not like it's just seeing so many of them in rapid fire, like, how the fuck are they making so many? But, in the long term, it'll be like, these are ones that are getting these ones will have mileage to them. Unless the whole place fucking explodes or something. Okay, they're in a dome. So that's why the sun is fake. The sun is a projection across the dome that diffuses the light and makes it have a vaguely realistic vibe instead of it just being like a giant spotlight or something. Address 5042. I would live there. That's an exceptionally nice house. I step out into the glare of midday, waiting for my eyes to adjust. The sun's shining at the top of the solar column, shedding bright white light. The solar column, I guess that's the middle pillar. So it actually rises and falls and gives like the difference of like sun angles and so on, and changes its like hue as it goes. Its color temperature? I don't know what it was. Colored names. The house is on the inner edge of the disk. Close enough to get the drop off into the well that even at ground level I can see down into it. There's a bit of a haze hanging over the well, particularly over the busy areas nearest the solar column, but visibility is still good enough to see across the well to the other side of the disk, and then up to the terrace wall of the Wreath district above. It's a good view, and a decent place to live, all told. Supposedly this house was among some of the first stock built on the disk. Which is to say, now it's kind of shit and half falling apart. At least the rent hasn't gone up too much recently. I gotta say, that interior, you're not selling me on the idea the place is falling apart, but I'm guessing maybe the electrical and plumbing is disappointing at this point. So I guess they're living in a big circular dome. I mean, that's what domes are. But I mean, like, there's probably like a ring of houses and businesses and like populated area, and then the middle is probably a big circular well that surrounds the location where the artificial sun is. So it's probably like a donut-shaped society. It's a bit of a walk to the bus stop. I reached back and slapped my mobile interface into the back of my neck. No new messages, nothing especially interesting on the news. There's some rain scheduled later. I hope Alex remembers to bring his bike in. He always complains about the detergent in the rain, not playing well with the bike's paint. Detergent in the rain. That's interesting. So the rain technically cleans the city. Just don't drink it. It's like hearing about fluoride in water, except somewhat more upsetting, because fluoride is good in the water. Thinking about the sun, because you have to wonder, like, why is the sun gone? It can't be gone, I'm pretty sure, unless we're in a space station, like floating through the void or something. We could be in space, technically. That would be a reason to have an artificial sun, and so we'll orphan that thought and not continue that thought. But if we are on Earth, or a planet, the sun can't be gone, because the sun, exploding, or anything else like that, would be cataclysmic. Suns like ours will expand into a red giant, when they're late in their lifespan. And those suns will consume the habitable planets. And I think that might be actually a relatively common thing, is that if you're in the habitable range of planets, and your sun is of the range of sizes where it would turn into a red giant, then it's going to consume all of the planets that people could live on, which would be bad. We could be on a space colony on a different planet. I don't really know what would happen if you try to live on one of the planets outside of the habitable zone, but in a dome. So half of them are just gas balls, so those aren't really options unless we're cloud Bespaming this Bespin cloud city. Bespin city. I forgot The moon of Bespin? I forgot the word terminology from Empire Strikes Back, whatever. The most likely thing, though, is cyberpunk, so they're cyberpunking everywhere. The most likely thing is that we ruined the planet, and the outside atmosphere isn't breathable, or the smog and clouds and pollution are so bad that we don't get the sun anymore, and that it has killed all vegetation on the planet, and we just can't survive due to some combination of pollution or nuclear winter or some other things where civilization has brought about the end of the Earth being habitable, and then everyone lives in dome cities where everything seems perfect and idyllic inside because it's all plastic and fake. I don't know if any of these plants are real. They said that they've never seen a dandelion before, but if there's mass extinctions, that could wipe out most plants, but there might still be some that were preserved, so there might be real ones in here. But, well, I don't know yet. Just enjoying thinking about what we've gotten hints at so far. I will say that this is very hopeful music, and it kind of came in. It's my fault for taking the time I did, but we were having the awkward conversation about potential downsides, like, is that guy gonna be okay, and what he's going through lately. So having this rolling, triumphant music playing over that part felt a little early for that tone, whereas out here maybe it's like, yeah, the outside world's great or whatever. Let's see, detergent on the bike paint. There's a bit of time before the bus arrives, without anything particular to it to do. I just take the time to savor my coffee and protein bar. Mint, my favorite. Still just a protein bar, but you know, gotta enjoy the small things. Mint protein bar, interesting. Not a flavor I've ever mixed with protein stuff. You never know what tomorrow's gonna bring. And this is just real-ass life right here. With taxis and everything. And visible human figures clouded by image filters. Clean writes a ways away. Neither my work nor the house are really on the more fashionable parts of the disc. I headed to a pretty out-of-the-way office park. I suppose there's a benefit to working a late shift in an older office. The bus isn't too crowded. Small things. I badge in without issue. The break room's on the way to the main office space, and it looks like Clyde's already partway through his shift. Must be hell of a shift, judging by how disheveled the middle-aged wolf looks as he slowly sips his water. Yeah, I definitely know this artist. It's killing me. He sees me coming, holding up a hand to wave as he swallows and sets the cup down. Morning. Afternoon. What time even is it? 1:30 or so. That bad, huh? Christ. Anita's still out on leave. Charlie's still sick. You know, Russell just pretends not to hear it. I nervously glance out into the break room door, but the leopard in question, our boss, is seated behind the glass walls of the office across the other end of the bullpen. Sure, but didn't we cancel those wedding cleanup contracts because we're short-handed and all? Clyde glances out the door too, before turning back to me and hissing in a low voice. That's the whole thing. He got them reinstated. Joyce tipped me off. He went on a whole thing about how, oh, well, the guidelines are just guidelines. His team can handle the load. His team. It's not his ass having to split across 8 drones at once, I'll tell you that much. You have to be joking. Wouldn't be much of a joke if it was. I'm barely even gonna break even paying for the extra daycare hours. He heaves a deep sigh, taking another sip of water. But what can you do? No sense in wallowing in things that aren't gonna change. Well, maybe one of the terrace managers does something eventually. If he keeps pulling this kind of thing. To his credit, he's too polite to call me an idiot. Well, brace yourself, that's all I'm saying. Hopefully I'll be out of here before you're on your break, so take it easy if I don't see you later. You too, later. I make my way out into the main office. Looks like Russell's on a call, so get a little reprieve. I badge into one of the... Yeah, I did his badge. Not like barge or anything, because they're using a badge to open the thing. I badge into one of the vacant pods, settling down in the operator chair and turning my back towards the aisle. I can't really do anything until Russell's done. I'm clocked in, so I guess I should just enjoy getting paid to do nothing. But it's hard not to be annoyed that hurry up and wait... Not to be annoyed by that hurry up and wait feeling. Yeah, urgently get to work to do what work usually does, which is inefficiently spend your time. I draw my fingers idly on my thigh. Still no new messages. They have windows on their cubicles. Exterior only, but yeah. I never want to be in a cubicle again, goddamn. I vastly prefer my decorated cubicle called my bedroom I work in every day. It's red. Whoa. I don't go through it quickly, but it's been long enough for me to finish my coffee. About what Lark was saying earlier. Maybe I just need to... Jump scare, snow leopard. Got little arrows. He's got little face arrows above his eyebrows. I definitely... Yeah, I think this is the artist that likes to draw people jacking off. Alright, that's a weird way to introduce that. I mean that in the best possible way. It's an artist I know of that like just kind of like draws very mundane scenes in a way that's like very delicate and like empathetic and like soft, and it's often just kind of like people on their own, or it's like just a couple of people just kind of having awkward encounters, and often dealing with the realities of sex that are often just like much more mundane and much less involved, and often just tired people coexisting in a intimate setting that where not much necessarily happens, and so on. It's mostly the hatching. It's the hatching, and it's the like cheekbones. Is it still called hatching? Yeah, it's called yeah, because the other one's cross hatching, so it's just not. It was not crossed. I think they're still called hatches. I'm pretty sure I know this exact artist. Julian, just who was I hoping to see? Just who I was hoping to see. You won't believe how much the terrace office is forcing on us. We're gonna need our star operator. Of fucking course. Afternoon, Russell. I was ready to go when you are. I turn towards him, hoping to bring up the reinstatements, but he quickly steps behind me, wasting no time. I face forward as he prepares, awkwardly forced to listen without having him in my field of vision. It could be much worse, you know. I pushed back as hard as I could, but you get how it is. Let's get you set up and running, huh? You've got a busy day ahead of you. And hey now, Julian. Fuck. I wince as he yanks my interface out without asking, dropping on the table, briefly sending static across my vision. No interface usage on the job, Julian, you know that. Anyway, time to get you to work. I shift slightly in my seat, lining up the ports on my spine with the open spaces running down the back of my chair. Russell crouches down with the first cable. That's what we look like. We haven't seen it the whole time. He's a fuzzy boy. And slots it in my lower back. Yeah, this feels invasive. People doing stuff in your body in general is just like not a great vibe. You needing help getting plugged in is a weird situation. Also, him just like reaching up and grabbing something without asking is like a boundary issue. You know, the extra contracts wouldn't be any trouble normally. But we are still a little short, and just between you and me, I think Charlie's milking things a bit. Just don't tell him I said that. You know he can get so touchy. You know, you're up in our space. It's like yanking the thing without asking very much gives the vibe of it's like the depersonalization of like, this is a machine and not a body and not a person that deserves their own like space and everything. It's like, nope, just dealing with your undercarriage here. Like it's like he's transitioned to working on the car that you drive and not you, but it's your body. It's like, it's upsetting to just have people yank things out of your body. No, he doesn't. Oh, that was cool. Perspective swap. Russell works his way up my back, slotting the second cable in. And you know, I'm happy for Anita to have time with the baby. Maybe it's not the best time for it career-wise, but takes all kinds, eh? Gotta work with what we got. He slots the third cable just under my shoulder blades. I shift slightly in the chair. I can feel the existing connections tug at me. Yeah, that's not the expression of somebody that's having a great time. Easy there, big guy. I know you're raring to get to it. Just give me a little longer. Don't call me that. Sorry, Russell. Being placative in their language, but every second of thought is like, this sucks, this guy sucks, the things he says sucks, the actions he's doing suck. Ah, we really should get you a bigger chair. Scoot down a little for me. He always says that, but here I am, in the same chair as ever. I shift down slightly, bringing the highest port below the edge of the headrest that had been blocking it. I let him make the final connection. Okay, you're just showing off at this point with this sequence, dear lord. He pats and grips my shoulder after plugging me in. I can feel the clammy warmth of his fingers through the jumpsuit. I keep my eyes forward, my expression blank. Anyway, glad I don't have to worry about that sort of thing from you, Julian. You're rock solid. You're not like them. You're dependable. Now, let's get you in there. The more you have a shitty job, the more being called dependable feels like you're the idiot, basically. Sounds good, Russell. I don't fully have the picture of this job necessarily, but I know that when you have a bad enough job, being told that you're the most reliable person kind of starts to feel like you're the one that's kind of like not getting it. Like you're the one that's most manipulatable, essentially. He moves to the console. I blink, slightly jolted by the boot up, then try to relax as the usual diagnostics run and signal green one by one. With a nod to Russell, I initiate full system startup, the chair lowering so that I lie on my back. I look up at the low-hanging large titles on the drop ceiling overhead. I stare at a small water stain and wait. All good to go. I think some of these are a bit of clever asset reuse, where I do think we've seen this face a few times throughout the sequence, but it's like shifting the context in a way that makes it keep feeling new and less like you're seeing the same stuff. It's like some clever usage there. Good luck out there. I'm always so glad I can count on you, Julian. The machine is connected to the machine I'm connected to processes, computes, and takes the world away from me. The music swelling so much might have made me raise my voice for a while. I realize. Everything is stripped away. Rebuilding myself takes time. It's a far cry from the exchanges feeling of entering into another place, one where I am myself, but more so. Instead, all sensations and my sense of self are pared down, reduced to more efficient conduits for raw data. I see the world, the real world, through the grainy, low-resolution vision of a set of cameras. Location and task data stream into my consciousness without sound. Looks like I have some street sweeping to do, 2 of our regular office contracts, and some stadium cleanup. Keeping Clyde's warning in mind, I throw myself straight into it. Time only holds meaning for a little while. The rapid pace doesn't leave much room for thought. I don't like this. So he splits his personality across multiple locations, basically. He's like he's in all these spots at the same time. At least 4 places at once, maybe more. That's just unpleasant to think about. It's like, unlike the other thing where he does his art, he's like less of a person here. I am slightly distracted by there's a fairly thick filter on 3 of these, and one of them doesn't have a thick filter on it. I am a set of wheels, a readout of remaining glass cleaning spray in the tanks. A constellation of sensors conveying only what specific information is needed to guide me through my work. Time, for what little it means, passes. Julian, I hate to do this, but we're really gonna need to pick up the pace today. There's a few more assignments coming your way. Take care of them, would you? Is it gonna be even more split screen? Uh-huh. That's alright. Now you're 9 people at once, basically. It's like it's less that you're a person or even a normal worker, but instead you're a sentient brain mixed with a AI interface or something, and they're just using the processing power of that combination to just run a bunch of stuff in a very raw way where you barely matter to the process. That's not great. The input bandwidth increases. I see more, feel more, become less. Bright lights, loud noises. I have no eyes to close or ears to cover. I can't hear myself think. It's later in my shift now. It must be. I work, I clean. Time must be passing somewhere. Russell, how long are we going to be burning through it this hard? I don't know if I can keep this up. We need to start fighting out anything lower priority we can drop. Figuring out anything lower priority. Janet's getting it soon. Don't you worry. It's just for a little while. It's not going to be for a little while, is it? I must be breathing somewhere out there, but I can't breathe in here. Time must be passing, but I can't feel it. It has been at least 4 hours in my shift, right? It has to be. I'm clinging to that thought when I feel the brush of contact as a line opens. Russell, I need to take my break. I'm dying out. So, bad news time. It looks like Janet's out today. I'm sorry to hear that, but this isn't sustainable. And you know how the numbers are looking this month, so I'm really sorry for this one. It's just gonna be one of those shifts. But I know you're a real trooper, Julian. You've got this. Russell, do not... Uh-huh. What's that? You were having some kind of panic attack? Here's double the work. Almost. Went from... We added 7 on top of the existing 9. Yeah, uh-huh. There's nothing more threatening than a boss that is complimentary to you over your work sometimes. Because like, ah, yes, you're extra exploitable. If I placate you with the right language, well, I can make your life so much worse and benefit from that without paying you more. The flow of information becomes a deluge. I try to swim in it, but I'm drowning. I'm washing away. There are no words, no thoughts, no self. Why can't I breathe? Why? Uh-huh. So, on to our third protagonist. I don't know if that's the case or not. The essence of that kind of panic is that you do end up just worrying you're just going to die. Yep, that's a lot more CPU load. Not my fault he didn't take the appropriate safety measures. I can't reasonably be expected to predict. Seriously? You're gonna throw him under the bus for not pulling the override. He was all but having a fucking seizure, and the last time somebody actually punched out, you... I simply don't feel safe having this discussion if you're gonna take that kind of tone. If you feel like we should have a post-mortem on the incident, the appropriate venue for that conversation is... I groan. Somebody must have rolled me onto my side. These chairs aren't meant for it, and I think my arm's asleep. You can tell they love their workers because his nameplate is just a piece of paper taped to the stall. That's not even anything more permanent, anything that would cost anything. And you can see that, and you can see the chairs. The chairs don't quite fit the cubicles, so you can see how many there are, and that's what everyone's doing here. So they just overloaded them in a very literal way. Like, they literally go beyond the cap for what you can even physically do. A thing that should basically be measurable, honestly. And they're like, yeah, we'll just overclock these people. It's fine. What can go wrong? I pry my eyes open and try to clear the uncomfortable buildup in my throat. The steady, pinging alarm is silenced with a thought. Oh, I appear to have vomited. Julian. There, see, he's doing just fine. Julian, you had us all worried. A fluorescent ache pounds somewhere in my forehead as I try to stir. What happened? That's such a good question. We're gonna have to... You got overloaded. He didn't like that. Doesn't like that you said the truth. Well, in any case, why don't you head home early? Don't worry, I'm not upset or anything. We might need to include a refresher on override procedures in the next weekly, but these things happen. I try to rise. I can't make my limbs obey me. Are these arms and legs, this avatar, mine? Is this me? Jesus, he's fucked. So he's literally, his connection to his own body is fucked up, like his dissociated from, as a result of this mess. This is upsetting, actually. And we knew going in, but yeah, they knew they were doing a cyberpunk. Some people forget that they're doing a cyberpunk. Yeah, that paradox where if you crash out at work in some way, it's your fault, but also anybody who does actually take their breaks or actually exerts their rights as a worker or takes care of themselves is also, like, frowned upon. I remember working in contexts where you have your lunch break and you have your 2 breaks in between, so you function as some kind of break every 2 hours, but boy, the energy sure changes when you actually take those breaks, doesn't it? Your legally mandated breaks. Suddenly, your coworkers seem kind of resentful of you for being gone at all, and your boss sure seems to, oh, what's that? Your schedule seems to be shifting in some way. It seems to be subtly reducing each week in some way, almost as if, like, they don't want to fire you, because if they fire you, there's, like, things they have to do and long-term expenses, but, like, they'd really love it if you just, like, quit this job. And it's like, oh, I wonder what the connection here was. I wonder which thing connected to what here. Jesus, he's fucked. Now, let's just give it a little more time. 2 more times I try and fail to rise before I can slowly lift my torso. Clyde must have left because now he's back carrying my thermos. Drink. The first taste of cold water is like life re-entering my body. I drink it greedily enough to choke and sputter, coughing briefly before taking another swallow. See, Clyde's a bro. Clyde's got solidarity here. This guy is just watching to make sure that he's not in trouble, basically, and Clyde's actually taking actions to help in some way. I shift, finally managing to sit up and bring my feet down to the ground. I think I should feel angry, but I'm too wretched to feel much else at all. Remember, if you feel any vertigo and it's not going away, you need to call... Come on, Clyde, I'm sure he doesn't need us playing nursemaid. I'm going to kill this man. And your off days are coming up, aren't they? Guess you're getting an early start. See you back Thursday. Is he expecting something? Words? Speech? I remember. I think I remember. Right. Thanks, Russell. I didn't want to say that. Why did I say that? It's actually, it's ambiguous there whether it's any kind of compelled speech, or if it's just the fact that, like, this is how you talk to your authority figures at work. This is the lack of calling anything out and the appeasement that you apply to everything. Time drifts on the bus ride back. I drink from my thermos slowly, small sips while my head spins. It's a struggle to sit upright, let alone stand again when the bus reaches my stop. The path keeps twisting under my feet as I walk home. Mirroring the shifting path in the dream, in the simulation, but now it's just happening because his own connection to reality is so shaken. That is a good note, and maybe a good note to end on for our preview here. If you want to check out Under Heaven, there's a link in the description to the full version of the game. It is a game meant for adults only. There was already a penis that I put a square over, so don't act dumb. I'm really interested in where this one's going, actually. This is extremely strong as an introduction. Great art, an abundance of art, which is terrifying, but it's always really cool to see people really going in and seeing the production levels really taking... they're really going up lately with some of the newer games. Just a lot of really talented people are really grouping up to make terrifying projects. But the question is always whether or not the writing can hold it up, because the whole production can be great, but if the writing isn't there, then it's a lot of wasted talent on some level. But the writing does really seem like it's going great. I'm interested in where the setting is going, where the characters are going. We technically don't have anything resembling a plot yet, because we're still in the introduction, so I can't really tell where it's going genre-wise, but I am very intrigued by this, and it's a very strong introduction. So you can check out the rest of the current build, which just launched, via the link in the description, and then there's also a playlist in the description where you can check out just, I don't know, like 50 or more of these. I've lost, I don't keep very good count, but I do basically a weekly Let's Try of another furry visual novel usually, and they've really stacked up, so you can really explore how wide the pool has gotten if you want to do that. But thanks for watching like always, guys, and I will see you next time.